Hello, hello, and welcome in. So excited to be doing a live today. I haven't had the chance to actually go live, and I've just been filming videos in my car, which was fun, but I prefer going live. So thank you for being here. Let me know if you can hear me and everything is working correctly. It looks like chat is up and everything is going good. But just let me know in the chat. And I actually only have about 40 minutes here. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in. Let me know if you can't hear me. Okay, so hello, by the way. I wanted to dive into this today because, as many of you know, I have been married for almost a year now. And wow, it has been a year of inner work, a lot of assumption work to say the least. Very positive, obviously, but also just immense amounts of growth as a person, and especially in a relationship. So I think that this is honestly one of the most rewarding journeys and like something that all of us crave as women, or most of us do. And I think it's beautiful. So, what I wanted to talk about today is more on the before marriage dating side of things. Obviously, I only have a year of marriage, almost a year under my belt. So, I'm not personally going to talk about anything that I have not embodied yet and actually gone through and experienced. So, what I see in my comments, I get emails about this. This is what people work with me for. I have a course on this, which is actually 50% off right now, Divine Feminine Dating. This is a question I get the most is why am I not provided for and why am I not being proposed to? So I wanted to come on live today and give a few reasons why this is the case, because there are reasons. You're not cursed. It's not luck that other women are getting provided for and proposed to by their dream man. It's neither of those things, which is good news. It's all about the assumptions and the inner work behind it. So, first of all, not doing the inner work or the work on your identity, or assumption work is what I like to call it, that allows you to actually show up in the world as the high-end, spoiled, provided for, whatever you want to be, wifey material. If you are not showing up as that, if that's not who you are being with your energy, with your essence, with your feminine energy, then that's how men are going to perceive you. The way that you present yourself, not just physically, but energetically, is the way that other people perceive you. So the men that you are attracting into your life, and this even goes for women who are already married or already engaged, your man can show up differently. This goes for both scenarios. Attracting new men into your life, then you're dating, you're going on dates with the intention of marriage, or you're already with someone and he's stopped showing up the way that you want him to. Men are always, always, always a reflection of who you're being energetically as a woman, what your identity is, the assumptions that you have about yourself, how you perceive yourself, the beliefs that you have about yourself and what you get to have and who you get to be around and who you get to attract into your life. All of these things is just the number one reason why women aren't even attracting this in the first place. So the main thing that I see, right, before people know this is that they will complain about the men. They will complain that none of the men today want to pay for this. They all want to go 50-50. They all want to take advantage of women and all of these things, which in a reality for people, this can be true. I'm not saying that this is like, no, not true at all, right? It can be true, but it doesn't have to be true for you. That's the difference. So every time that you complain about something, recognize and reframe that there's something behind that you actually want. You wouldn't be complaining about men not paying for things, not providing, not proposing, unless you actually wanted those things. So we can use the energy from getting mad about that and acting like a victim to our reality. And we can actually put that into ourselves and building ourselves up and building and creating a new identity that actually doesn't have those problems. That's the thing, is like, just level up to where you actually don't experience those problems. Once I did this, I never experienced this anymore. It didn't make sense to me that this was happening to other people. I mean, the only reason it did is because it happened to me before, right? But if I was just born into right now, the beliefs that I have, all of the assumption work that I've done, I could not fathom how that would actually happen to other people. So, you get to switch into that. You get to choose into a different identity. You get to choose into a different version of yourself, into a different version of the woman that you actually want to be, and just decide to show up as her. So, also, your assumptions about your current identity, I talked about this not necessarily in relation to provider men, but in general with manifesting in my last podcast episode, is that they don't match if you're not receiving this, right? If you're not being provided for or proposed to or whatever you desire in your relationship, they do not match what you actually want. They don't match what you actually want in a relationship with your current, future husband, fiance, whoever, the men that you're dating. You can only manifest what your assumptions are. That's why stuff like affirmation work and visualization, stuff like that, are quite powerful, because they help you change your assumptions. And that's really important, because if you never change those assumptions, this is something that people were actually asking about on this last episode. Like, okay, how do you do it then if it's going to take years, right? Well, it will take years for your life to change if you never change these assumptions. If you embody this and change these assumptions with dating, with money, even with manifesting in general, you get to have it like that. As fast as you're able to embody the new assumption, you get to have it. You have certain assumptions about yourself right now, right? Subconsciously, you're always creating your world. You're always manifesting. So your dating experiences and ultimately the men that you're attracting are going to reflect that. So I do have to back up for a second and just explain why another reason I came on here to talk about this today is because what I noticed recently is that when I would send out emails to my email list, which definitely get on that so you can get my biggest Black Friday sale deals this weekend. Link for everything is all below in the description. But whenever I would send these out, I would receive emails back or comments on things that I posted. And it would be the same people, I'm not going to expose names, but it would be the same people who 2 years ago, whenever I first started my business and I was talking about feminine energy, they're asking the same questions. Literally the exact same question. So to me, that tells me that this person did not change any sort of assumptions about themselves and did not level up in that area of their life since 2 years ago. And that to me, that's unacceptable to me. I'm not okay with that. Like, that doesn't meet my standards for the people who I desire to be my community and who I desire to work with or even be an influence on the other people in my community. That's not okay with me. I don't accept that for myself. That's actually a standard that I have for myself. If I'm not going to sit around and complain and ask the same things for years on end and nothing's changing in my life, no. I mean, we all have power to create our own reality. And so that's what I'm calling y'all into. Like, no, if you're not getting what you desire, do the assumption work, like do the inner work. It's unacceptable to waste your life, your literal precious time and energy and money and feminine energy, not getting what you desire. Unless you want that. I don't know. I don't, but a little harsh love there. But really, I mean, call yourself into that. It's almost 2024. If you look back and say, oh, a year ago, whenever I was watching this sort of content, my goal this year was to get engaged and married to a provider man, and it didn't happen for you, and like, you're not any closer to it, right? Obviously, if you've been doing the inner work and you're like actively working on it, that's different. But if it just didn't happen for you and you literally have not gotten any closer to your goal, whether that be in business, with money, with manifesting, with your feminine energy, with dating, you have to really sit down with yourself and be real and recognize that something's not happening here. Like, you're not showing up for yourself and your standards are not where they need to be for yourself to actually progress, right? So a little bit on that there, but I just find it unacceptable to waste your life and not getting what you desire whenever you have the power and ability to do so. So remove the limiters. Level up your identity into one that literally does not have these same problems or these same questions or these same, like, you should not be the same person that's commenting something that is the same as 2 years ago. It's not, it's just, you're not doing something for yourself. So again, I just wanted to announce that Divine Feminine Dating, I will be adding 2 lessons into this so we can all prepare to get engaged in 2024 and date for marriage and have that really high-end, high-standard dating and not accept a crumb less than that and get what you actually desire, not just halfway there and then giving up on your own goal. Like this, it's either you do it or you don't, right? So it is 50% off for the next 48 hours. And yeah, I'm very excited to see who's in there for those live lessons. So number 2, you are allowing yourself, another reason why you're not being provided for or proposed to, you are allowing yourself to date with your emotions and be manipulated into relationships. You are allowing yourself to date with your emotions and then be manipulated into relationships. So this one's going to be probably a bit triggering as well, but that's what this video is. I'm not going to BS it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. When you do this, my husband and I were talking about this. So I asked him if it was like too mean to say, and he's like, no, he's like, women need to hear this. Like, he's tired of seeing people being taken advantage of too. But what we were talking about, what we realized is that you actually get to play the victim when this happens. When you allow yourself to stray away from your standards, to say your boundaries with words, but then never follow them up with actions. I don't even think you need to say them, honestly, because just do them, right? Like, you set the boundary, you do them. You make the action of whatever, action gets to come after that, right? A man does not provide for you. Okay, well, you don't continue to date him if that's not what he wants to do, if you were to get married. So you get to play the victim when this happens. And you get to say, oh, like, when is he going to give me the ring? I started dating him. I've been so loyal. I've been so, I've been here and I still haven't gotten the ring. Like, why? I've committed to him. Why would he do this? Right? He won't do that. But then women who are not getting this and getting what they desire will complain about now having to enforce boundaries, which I'm being harsh on this because I did this too, okay? I totally messed this up for myself, messed it up. Obviously, everything worked out, but I totally messed this up for myself and had to go back and set the boundaries and date for marriage and basically go through this emotional damage and like heartbreak on myself because I didn't set the standards to begin with because I was not educated on these things. So I see women getting what they desire. So they'll meet a guy who starts to provide for them, and then they will become in an exclusive relationship with them without getting engaged. I did this. I'm guilty. I did this too, okay? I had to go back and clean that up for myself. And I don't want other women to have to do the same. So I see women doing this, and then they'll get into an exclusive relationship, and then they will wait. They will wait for the ring. They will then go into kind of nagging mode or like, okay, like continue to compromise their boundaries. Oh, it's been a little long. I told him I'm not doing this before the ring. Like, I'm not moving in. I'm not, having relations, all that sort of stuff before the ring. But then they end up doing it and compromising their boundaries, compromising their actual standards that they had for themselves, which apparently were not there because they're compromising them. If you have them there, like, you don't compromise them. right? Like you just don't. You level yourself up to where you don't accept any less than that. And if somebody tries to make you compromise your standards, it doesn't happen. Like it just doesn't happen because that's who you are. But I see women doing this and then throwing themselves back into the cycle of believing they don't fully get to have what they desire, which was a proposal and a marriage. And unfortunately, this is the victim cycle, right? So if you are accustomed, which I was too, if you're accustomed to having a victim type of experience in relationships, friendships, relationships with men, with family members, with a victim mindset in your business, if you notice that this is a theme in your life, then you might notice that this is what you're doing in relationships. It's very subtle. And also people don't present this as, hey, you're settling. Settling is victim mentality. It's scarcity. It's when you feel like you're not actually going to get better, so I'm going to resort to this instead, which is like somewhat good enough for me to feel satisfied for now, but like actually it's not what I want. So this is the number one way that I see women messing up, right? And actually turn a guy who would be willing to provide for them and willing to propose to them, like not even willing, like literally begging for it, right? Whenever my husband and I first started dating, that's what he wanted to do was marry me. And like I said, I was uneducated on feminine energy to some degree at this point, but I was not educated on true boundaries, true standards for a high value feminine woman because I was leveling up myself. And I made the stupid mistake of saying like, no, of course I want to date a little bit first and all that sort of stuff, right? Now, that's fine if you want to go on a few dates with someone before you marry them. But we'd known each other for a long time and it wasn't necessary. So I screwed myself over by doing that. And then I had to go back and actually break that off and then date for marriage. And he did end up being my husband. But that's not always the case. And you don't need to put yourself through that emotional damage, right? Like we had to do work on that afterwards. And that could have been something that was avoided if I let him lead and I was able to receive from masculine energy and allow myself, of course, I was provided for during this time, but allow myself the fullness, right? The actual marriage. All I could accept at that time was allowing myself to be provided for, wined and dined, have my rent paid, like have, nails done, hair done, all that sort of stuff. That was easy. I could accept that. But what I couldn't accept at that time, what I could not receive was fully being provided for in the safety of marriage. So you might want to look at that for yourself. Like, what are you actually able to receive from men? Some women that I have worked with actually could never, at the beginning, bring themselves to even allow themselves to go on a date with a man who would pay for their meal, who approached them that way and say, I would love to take you out for dinner, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, they move through that. That's amazing. So happy for them. But that's where some women are starting. And like, that's okay. But whenever we really relax, I hate relax into our feminine energy. We hear this all the time, right? But it's really true. Whenever our nervous system is grounded and we're actually in our feminine energy, feeling safe inside of our body, that's when we can start to allow this to happen. That's a big key, which I'll talk about later, but that's one that we already know, right? So unfortunately, when this happens, a lot of women are going to have to take a lot more effort and heartbreak to leave the person potentially and start all over or, do the inner work around this like I had to do when you actually do end up with that person as well. So I would not recommend that. I did experience that myself. It's all great, but you don't have to do that, right? If you stick to your boundaries and standards, like you don't have to do that. So number 3, I've said this the whole video, but this is why you're not being proposed to or provided for is because you say your standards instead of actually enacting them. It's all up here, right? It's all in your head, it's all in your mouth, and it's not fully in your action. It's not in your being. You are not being the woman who only accepts that. What I've learned is that people do not take you seriously, as they shouldn't, when you say your boundaries, when it's all talk, and then you never actually enact them or take the actions that you said you're going to, right? I personally think that you should just take the action, and you don't really have to say anything. And then whenever you are leveled up to being that woman, people don't even try you. Like, people don't try that stuff around you because they can already tell by your energy, it really is an energetic boundary, right? It just, they can't try that in your presence. Like, a man would not try to split the bill with me. That's crazy. A client would not try to not pay me after they signed a contract or something like that. That's crazy. That doesn't happen in my world. Am I special? No, I'm not. But what I have done is I've done all of the assumption work around this. It's like, this just would not happen to me. This does not happen in my world. And so you need to create that with the assumptions that we talked about earlier, that it doesn't happen in your world. Like, those are not problems that we deal with at this level. Those are problems that our old identity dealt with. Cool. No longer a problem. And obviously there's assumption work and inner work that goes behind that. If you see it keep coming up in your life, is just see it as a mirror, right? Especially the men that are showing up for you. We don't need to complain about them. We don't need to get mad. All it is showing you the progress that you've made in becoming the woman who actually gets what she desires. And that's great. It's like a free little testing realm. That's how I like to see it. So when you do say something though, and then you don't follow through with it, even to yourself. So say you're like, okay, I don't say my boundaries anymore to people. I just take the action, but I know them in my head. Yeah, we should say them to ourselves. We should be familiar with what it is for ourselves. Like, okay, I'm dating for marriage. I'm not going to become exclusive with this man. That's my boundary. You don't have to tell him that unless that conversation comes up, but you know that in your head. So then I've seen this happen with so many people. It actually makes me very sad. Even people close to me, I've seen this happen. Is that they'll tell me, oh, I met this guy. He is a provider. Like, he is husband material. But, I'm dating for marriage and I am not going to be in an exclusive relationship with him. Great. Well, then comes the day where he asks her to be his girlfriend, and she says, she falters, right? She kind of isn't actually prepared for this and isn't prepared to enact that boundary. And so she's like, oh, okay. Or like, not for long though. This is what I've heard. Not for long though. I'm dating for marriage. But then she becomes the man's girlfriend. And then months start to go by. Now it's been 6 months. Now it's been a year. And even though he said oh yes, I'm looking for a wife, he never proposes because she never enacted that boundary. What this does to the feminine psyche is it actually causes, this is anyone, right? Masculine or feminine. It causes you to not trust yourself. That is where I'm more concerned, because that's more damaging than having that interaction with another person. When you don't trust yourself, then you consistently start to lower your standards and allow things to happen in dating experiences, in all aspects of your life, that derail you, and you actually start to level down. And that's what I see, unfortunately. So that's why this is really, really important. Is it's not just how other people are perceiving you, it's how you are perceiving yourself and how you trust yourself. Because if you don't trust yourself, all of the inner work and assumptions that you are doing the work on, how can you even trust right? Like, this is a belief game. How can you trust that these are true? Affirmations can already feel like lies to people, or visualizing something can feel so separate. Like, okay, cool, I can imagine it, but like, it's not really mine yet. That is already something that takes a lot of self-trust, that takes belief in self, that takes not giving up. Leveling up is, it takes a mental and energetic endurance to consistently show up for yourself, to consistently enact these boundaries and be that new version of yourself. That takes energy to do. And whenever you're trying to do that, but you lack trust in yourself, you will stop showing up. You'll level down. You will honestly see other aspects of your life derail because of this. So this is not just like, oh, you became a girlfriend, like how stupid, No, it's serious, because you start to not trust yourself. And that is extremely damaging. Very, very, very damaging. I've seen people lose tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars, completely leveled themselves down in most aspects of their life because of this. And it's very sad. So that's why this is so important. And lastly, of course, this one is the one that we all know, and it is the more obvious one. But as a reminder, the reason that you are likely not attracting provider men into your life who, want to propose to you and are looking for a wife is because you're not showing up in your feminine energy. Now, out of all of these others, this almost seems like just the easiest one to fix at this point, right? It does take time, but it is a nervous system game. Your nervous system is in protective survival mode. I talk about this all in my Feminine Foundation course, which is actually 50% off right now as well until I end this live and then come back for my appointment. So get in quickly, link in bio or link in the description if you desire to get in that. But you're going to have a hard time, again, changing your assumptions, being able to really do any sort of assumption work, inner work, from a state of triggered nervous system. I like to call it wounded little girl feminine energy. You're definitely going to have a hard time receiving from the masculine, or being provided for, or allowing a man to even show you his provision. Whenever I started working with one of my clients, or most of them actually, and they are in that wounded feminine energy, I spend a month, 2 months, sometimes even 3 months just working with them on this specific topic and getting into their feminine energy first, because I'm not going to throw someone who's in survival mode into the dating game. It's going to feel like you're literally thrown into a lion's den whenever you're uptight and in survival mode and have no idea how to really shift into your feminine. It's key in a dating scenario, not just for polarity, but just to be able to receive your desires, just to be able to even see yourself as worthy of having these standards and these desires for yourself. That's a big part of it. It is what I found extremely difficult to manifest in general, or even receive money in your business, from family, through gifts, if you're not in a state of your feminine energy and you're not being the woman, that next level version of yourself that you desire to experience. The fastest way to get there is through feminine embodiment. The masculine is the doing. Like, yes, you can do your way there, but if you can't enjoy an experience, you're not in your feminine. And like, why would you want to reach that goal anyways if you can't enjoy it, right? So this is complex. We talk about this a lot in Divine Feminine Dating, and also the Feminine Foundation, which are both 50% off right now. So if you want a structured container for this, then definitely get in those. I actually have to go in about 5 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. But this is all extremely important, not just for dating and getting a man who is providing for you and all that, but this is your whole experience in life. And as feminine women, we prioritize, for the most part, we actually prioritize like feeling loved and having that experience, having a relationship. That's not something that we need to be ashamed to admit that we do desire. We desire that partnership. And so, in my opinion, I think it should be the best that it can be for every woman. So that's why I wanted to make this video. I know there's a lot of tough love at the beginning and throughout this, but there's no point in making shallow content that really doesn't resonate and hit deep with someone, because that's what I want for all of you. I don't desire for any of you to experience a mediocre life, and you don't have to. So I have to bring it real and raw. Just a reminder or a little announcement is that the Black Friday sale for all of my courses starts on the 18th, which is in 2 days. That's going to be the private sale for 2 days, which is actually going to be 40% off any of my courses, any of the bundles, whichever one you want, for 2 days only. The only way you can access this is if you are on my email list. So if you're on there already, I'm so excited for you. If not, I have it below where you can join and get on before then. Make sure and get on that, because obviously you want to get 40% off of whatever you want. And then on Monday, the whole week will be the public Black Friday sale, which is 23% off all of my courses. So very excited for that. And again, if you have not signed up for Blessed already, this is where we will be focusing on abundance and money manifestation. And that will be a free training, my last one in 2023. So go ahead and get in for that as well. I know it's a lot of links, but you don't want to miss any of these. So I do have to go soon. Let me look at the questions that I have in chat real quick to see if I can answer these quickly. Are there any benefits of marrying compared to not doing so in the US? Feeling like marriage is much more chaste there compared to Europe, and that people marry way younger. I mean, that's definitely a personal choice, personal decision. You got to weigh the pros and cons for yourself. Like, I have my own pros and cons for that, and you as well. So I can't like personally answer that for you. But I mean, you can look at it for yourself and just say, hey, are there benefits for this? I don't think everyone should get married. I don't think that it necessarily benefits everyone, but you know, if you believe that, if that's what you desire and you believe that it benefits you in life and it'll help you level up, why not, right? I desire marriage and children. I'm 31. Want to focus on that, not work. Yes, I hear that so much, for sure. Love the tough love. Okay, good. I was like, I just can't BS anymore. Like, not that I was, but this is how I am, okay? I cannot hide it, and it's not going to benefit you if I do. Don't even know how to start being more feminine. Well, whenever I come back from my appointment, I will be raising the price on this. But for about an hour or two, my feminine foundation course will be 50% off. So if you want like a structured, science-based, but also spiritual feminine course on how to activate and actually maintain your feminine energy, that one is like my top selling course. Best one for that for sure. And yeah, I mean, that would be the best place to start. All right, well, I do have to go. I have an appointment now. So my last like beauty appointment before my husband and I are having an additional wedding ceremony this weekend, even though we already got married over a year ago. That's what kind of sparked this video and wanting to teach more in the Divine Feminine Dating course. And I'm so excited, but yeah, I got my nails done. Everything else is done. So all I need to do is go to this one last appointment and then we are ready. So I'm so excited. I'm so glad that these videos have been helping you, and I love you all so much. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.